The hour of convening having arrived, all members of the House will please report to the floor of this House. All members, please report to the floor of the House. The clerk will ring the bell. All members will report to the floor of the House. We're about to have the call of the roll. All members present will please vote green to signify their presence in the chamber, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? Have all members now voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. Doorkeepers will please close the doors and keep them closed. Well, good morning to all of you. Welcome to, what is it, Legislative Day 10? 11. We're starting the second quarter. We will begin our day with scripture reading and prayer by the chaplain, after which we will pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. I have the distinct honor of introducing our chaplain today. He has already led the devotion, I think, at the breakfast meeting earlier today. Reverend Buck Birch is the interim senior pastor now at the First Baptist Church of Ellijay. He's originally from Eastman, and he's also a state missionary with the Georgia Baptist Mission Board in the area of cooperative program giving and stewardship. He previously served as a missionary with the International Mission Board in Russia and as a pastor in Middle and South Georgia. He's a graduate of Liberty University, Southeastern Seminary, and Regis University, and holds degrees in English education, theology, and organizational leadership. We're honored to have with us, I hope you'll make welcome, his wife, Leslie. She is a teacher in the public schools of DeKalb County. They have 3 children, and you're going to enjoy Brother Buck. I came to know him not long ago when we decided to talk about some issues, and we have done that, and he's been a great inspiration and blessing to me, and means a lot to me personally, and I hope you will enjoy him as I do. It's my honor to present to you Reverend Buck Birch, First Baptist Church of Ellijay.
Good morning. I'm sure you've heard the story of the two little boys that were renowned for their misbehavior, rambunctious as they were. Their mama was at wit's end, didn't know what to do with them. She had tried to seek every source of help that she could, and finally she turned to the local preacher, figuring that he could put the fear of the Lord in them. And so she sent them down there, the two little boys, and had them sit outside the office and wait on that pastor to have a word with them. When he called them in, the two little boys, he called them in one at a time, the older one first, and he tried to make an impression on the young man. And so he had his spectacles, he looked over and peered at him and had his great big Bible in his hand, and he said with as deep a voice as he could, "Son, where is God?" And the little boy just stood looking straight ahead, gulped one time, and the pastor didn't know really what the boy was doing to respond, so he repeated a little more sternly, and he said, "Son, I'm asking you, where is God?" The little boy just ran out of the office, grabbed his little brother, and it was heard on the way out as he was making his way out the door, "Billy, let's get out of here fast. They've lost God, and they're blaming it on us." Those little boys could have done with a little bit of wisdom, but I think that pastor could have too. You know, anytime someone wants to clarify the meaning of a word, they usually try to get Webster's opinion. And a modern rendition of Webster's simple definition of wisdom is knowledge that is gained by having many experiences in life, or the natural ability to understand things that most people cannot understand. However, Webster's original dictionary definition included this entry: in Scripture theology, wisdom is true religion, godliness, piety, the knowledge and fear of God, and sincere and uniform obedience to His commands. This is the wisdom which comes from above. There's a big difference between the culmination of experiences and innate ability and that which comes from outside of ourselves and involves external revelation. Perhaps no name is more associated with wisdom than that of King Solomon, the ruler of Israel for over 40 years. It is told that he was richer and more influential than any other ruler in history. Matter of fact, scholars have deduced that in today's money, if you consider the amount that he took in from taxation, from tribute, and including those gifts that were given through other countries and international trade, that in today's money, he took in annually $1.1 billion worth of gold. But in 1 Kings chapter 3, the Bible says, in Gibeon, the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream at night. And God said, "Ask what you wish for me to give you." Then Solomon said, "O Lord my God, you have made your servant king in place of my father David. Yet I am but a little child. I do not know how to go out or come in. Your servant is in the midst of your people, which you've chosen, a great people, who are too many to be numbered or counted. So give your servant an understanding heart to judge your people, to discern between good and evil." It was pleasing, the Bible said, in the sight of the Lord that Solomon had asked this thing. The Bible says, God said to him, "Because you have asked this thing, and have not asked for yourself long life, or have asked for yourself riches, nor have asked for yourself the life of your enemies, but have asked for yourself discernment to understand justice, I have given you a wise and discerning heart, so that there has been no one like you before, nor shall anyone arise after you." The truth is that Solomon asked God for wisdom to lead, to make decisions for his people, not self-seeking at all. So God granted him that which he asked for, but also that which he did not ask for, and made him a very wealthy and a very influential man. In the book of Proverbs, Solomon said that God created the earth by his wisdom. He said wisdom is better than jewels or riches. He acknowledged that by wisdom kings reign and rulers decree justice, that those who diligently seek wisdom will find it. And in Proverbs 8:35 it says, "He who finds wisdom gets life." That same wisdom is available to each and every one of us today in a prayer that we could ask as close as breathing the words. Matter of fact, James 1:5 says, "If anyone lacks wisdom, he can ask of God, who will give in abundance." In that same book in James, the Bible differentiates that which is worldly wisdom and that which is called wisdom from above. And it says that every good and perfect gift comes down from above. God is the source of wisdom. Today, maybe more than ever, you and I have a lot of knowledge and maybe a little bit of innate ability, but now more than ever, we really need wisdom that comes from outside of ourselves. And maybe at the same time, we just need to think that we are truly in need of a heavenly gift of wisdom that will help us make decisions that will affect not only our generation, but generations to come. Today, I'm praying for you, dear leaders, that God would bless you with a wisdom that is beyond yourself, that the decisions you make would leave a legacy of life, and that in all the decisions you make, whether you make them in the great stately halls here or in the warm halls of home, that God would bless you, and that no future generation could ever say, like those little boys did to that preacher, they lost sight of God. May we pray. Lord, I thank you for being the source of wisdom. I thank you, Father, that you grant wisdom liberally to anyone who asks in faith. And today, Lord, I ask that on behalf of this body of leaders dedicated to serving the state of Georgia, that you would give that which you deem as wise. Please, Lord, I pray that you'd grant insight into your truth in every man and woman here today. I pray this in the name of the author of wisdom, the creator of all, our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Doorkeepers will unlock the doors. Chair recognizes for the report of the Committee on Information and Audits the chair, Chairman Chokas.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Information and Audits has read the journals of the previous legislative day and have found them to be correct.
Chairman Chokas, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? The chair hears none and the journal is confirmed. The clerk will read the resolution establishing the order of business for the day.
Mr. Burns, on the 159th, moves the following be established as the order of business during the first part of the period. Unanimous consents. Introduction of bills and resolutions, first reading and reference of House bills and resolutions, second reading of bills and resolutions, report of standing committees, morning orders.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. First reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 838 by Representative Blackman of the 146th, Meadows of the 5th, Epps of the 144th, Rhodes of the 120th, Smith of the 134th, and others. Bill being entitled an act to amend Chapter 24, Title 33, the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to insurance general provisions.
Insurance.
House Bill 839 by Representative Hatchett of the 150th, Epps of the 144th. Bill being entitled an act to amend an act providing a charter for the city of East Dublin.
Intergovernmental coordination.
House Bill 840 by Representative Stevens in the 164th, McCall the 33rd, Green in the 151st, Parrish in the 158th, and Smith the 70th. Bill being entitled an act to amend Title 12 and Title 27, the official code of Georgia annotated relating to conservation of natural resources and game and fish.
Game, fish, and parks.
House Bill 841 by Representative Sharper, the 177th, Randall the 142nd, Gardner the 57th, McLean of the 100th, Waits of the 60th, and others. Bill being entitled an act to amend Chapter 11 of Title 16, the official code of Georgia annotated relating to offenses against public order and safety.
Public safety and homeland security.
House Bill 842 by Representative Taylor of the 79th and Beskin of the 54th. Bill being entitled an act to amend Chapter 10 of Title 25 and Chapter 60 of Title 36, the official code of Georgia annotated relating to the regulation of fireworks.
Regulated industries.
House Bill 843 by Representative Gardner of the 57th, Jones of the 62nd, Avler of the 82nd, Abrams of the 89th, and Kendrick of the 93rd. The bill be titled an act to amend Part 5 of Article 4, Chapter 11 of Title 16, the official code of Georgia annotated relating to Brady law regulations.
Public safety and homeland security.
House Bill 844 by Representative Maxwell of the 17th, Jaspers of the 11th, Buckner of the 137th, Green of the 151st, Rakestraw of the 19th, and others. Bill being entitled an act to amend Chapter 7 of Title 47, the official code of Georgia annotated relating to the Georgia Firefighters Pension Fund.
Retirement.
House Bill 845 by Representative Setzler, the 35th, Reeves, the 34th, and Golick of the 40th. The bill being entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 3 of Title 16, the official code of Georgia annotated relating to justification and excuse.
Judiciary non-civil.
House Bill 846 by Representative Watson of the 172nd, Welch of the 110th, Strickland of the 111th, Rutledge of the 109th, Knight of the 130th. Bill being entitled an act to amend Title 42, the official code of Georgia annotated relating to penal institutions.
Judiciary non-civil.
House Bill 847 by Representative Clark of the 98th, Willard of the 51st, Golick the 40th, Thomas the 39th, Cooper the 43rd, and others. Bill be entitled an act to amend Article 4 of Chapter 9 of Title 16 and Article 1 of Chapter 4 of Title 49 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to fraud and related offenses.
Judiciary non-civil.
House Bill 848 by Representative Clark of the 98th, Dungeon of the 25th, Kelly of the 16th, Belton of the 112th, and Fleming of the 121st, and others. Bill being entitled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 20, the official code of Georgia annotated relating to elementary and secondary education.
Education.
House Bill 849 by Representative Golick of the 40th, Smyrie of the 135th, Willard of the 51st, Jones of the 47th, Abrams of the 89th, and others. Bill being entitled an act to amend Title 10 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to commerce and trade.
Judiciary.
House Bill 850 by Representative Mayo of the 84th, Mitchell of the 88th, Kaiser of the 59th, Carter of the 92nd, Smith of the 125th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 21 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to primaries and elections generally.
Governmental affairs.
House Bill 851 by Representative Atwood of the 179th. The bill be entitled an act to amend Chapter 15 of Title 36 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to county law libraries.
Budget and fiscal affairs oversight.
House Bill 852 by Representative Buckner of the 137th, Hawkins of the 27th, Abrams of the 89th, Gardner of the 57th, Holcomb of the 81st, and others. Bill be entitled an act to amend Chapter 4, Title 49 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to public assistance.
Health and Human Services.
House Bill 853 by Representative Hawkins of the 27th, Cooper the 43rd, Beverly the 143rd, Weldon the 3rd, Randall the 142nd, and others. Bill be entitled an act to amend Article 6 of Chapter 11 of Title 31 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to the Coverdale-Murphy Act.
Health and Human Services.
House Resolution 963 by Representative Gardner of the 57th, Oliver the 82nd, and Kendrick the 93rd. A resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution of the State of Georgia so as to provide for procedures and standards for legislative and congressional reapportionment.
Legislative and congressional reapportionment.
House Resolution 1160 by Representative Gardner of the 57th, Oliver the 82nd, Kendrick the 93rd. A resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution so as to provide that the Legislative, Congressional, and Public Service Commission reapportionment be done by an independent, nonpartisan commission.
Legislative and congressional reapportionment.
That completes first readers.
Second reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 716 by Representative Waits of the 60th, a bill relating to minors. House Bill 828 by Representative Flood of the 64th, a bill relating to imposition rate and computation and exemptions from state income taxes. House Bill 829 by Representative Sharper of the 177th, a bill relating to compulsory attendance. House Bill 830 by Representative Glanton of the 75th, a bill to conditionally repeal an act providing a homestead exemption from ad valorem taxes for city purposes for the residents of Jonesboro. House Bill 831 by Representative Smyre of the 135th, a bill relating to rights, privileges, and prohibitions from certain military personnel. House Bill 832 by Representative Turner of the 21st, a bill relating to stay of civil forfeiture proceedings during pendency of criminal proceedings. House Bill 833 by Representative Mitchell of the 88th, a bill relating to tax amnesty programs. House Bill 834 by Representative Hawkins of the 27th, a bill relating to health and revenue and taxation. House Bill 835 by Representative Rogers of the 29th, a bill relating to tax returns and furnishing of information. House Bill 836 by Representative Carter of the 175th, a bill relating to exemptions from sales and use tax. House Bill 837 by Representative Setzler of the 35th, a bill relating to state government. House Resolution 1136, Representative Abstration of the 104th, a resolution requesting the United States Congress call a convention under Article 5 of the Constitution of the United States limited to proposing amendment to the Constitution of the United States to set a term limit on number of terms that a person may be elected to the House of Representatives, and to set a limit on the number of terms that a person may be elected as a member of the United States Senate. House Resolution 1159 by Representative Jones of the 62nd, resolution proposing amendment to the Constitution so as to provide that the members of the House of Representatives and the Senate shall serve staggered 4-year terms of office. Through second readers.
Reports of standing committees. The clerk will read.
Representative England of the 116th District, Chairman of the Committee of Appropriations, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Appropriations has had under its consideration the following bills of the House. It has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 750, due pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Terry England, Chairman. Representative Knight of the 130th District, Chairman of the Committee on Game, Fish, and Parks, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Game, Fish, and Parks has had under its consideration the following bills of the House. It has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 483, due pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Knight, Chairman. Representative Sharon Cooper of the 43rd District, Chairman on the Committee of Health and Human Services, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Health and Human Services had under its consideration the following bills of the House. It has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 588, due pass by committee substitute. House Bill 780, due pass. House Bill 509, due pass by committee substitute. House Bill 649, due pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Sharon Cooper, Chairman. Representative Carl Rogers, the 29th District Chairman on the Committee on Higher Education, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Higher Education has had under consideration the following bills of the House. It has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 801, due pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Carl Rogers, Chairman. Representative Maxwell, the 17th District Chairman on the Committee on Regulated Industries, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Regulated Industries has had under consideration the following bills of the House. And it's instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 593, due pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Maxwell, Chairman. Representative Setzler, the 35th District Chairman on the Committee of Science and Technology, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Science and Technology has had under consideration the following bills of the House. It has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 126, due pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Setzler, Chairman. That completes the reading of the reports of standing committees.
All right, we're about to go on to morning orders. Let me remind the members of this body that we are going into joint session here in about 30 minutes. And we can get as much or as little of our business completed before then, and we can come back after that and finish, or we can get it done before. If you signed up for a morning order, please make your way to the front of the chamber. Chair recognizes for a morning order Chairman Penny Houston. Chairman Houston.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a resolution up here, if you'd like to sign it, inviting Clark Howell to come to the House to be recognized for the work that he has done in Georgia for Clark's Christmas Kids. For the last 25 years, he's helped provide over 100,000 gifts to foster children. And he's done many other things for the state, too, and we would like to invite him to come and be recognized. And I would also like to thank the Women's Caucus and the Rural Caucus for their generous donation that they gave to help provide foster children Christmas gifts. Thank you.
Chair recognizes for a morning order Chairman Alan Powell. Chairman Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and ladies and gentlemen. On February the 2nd next week, it's going to be Firefighters Appreciation Day, and to recognize these men and women that serve our state so diligently. Got a resolution, and I know that a lot of the members always like to sign this to honor these good folks. I'm going to leave it up here on the podium for everybody. Anybody wants to sign it. Thank you.
Chair recognizes for a morning order Representative Price.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I would like to honor Georgia's physicians with a Doctor's Day resolution, H.R. 1168. National Doctors' Day is fast approaching, and many of you may not know that Georgia played a leading role in the starting of Doctors' Day in the United States. Doctors' Day was first observed in Winder, Georgia, marking the date that Dr. Crawford W. Long, M.D. of Jefferson, Georgia, administered the first ether anesthesia for surgery on March 30th, 1842. On that day, Dr. Long administered ether anesthesia to a patient with a tumor on his neck, allowing the tumor to be removed without him feeling any pain and without any recollection whatsoever of having had the surgery. A statue of Dr. Crawford Long is displayed in the crypt of the U.S. Capitol to recognize his contribution to modern anesthesia and the future ability to do complicated and painless surgeries. Today, we honor Georgia's physicians and recognize their contributions to individual lives and to their communities. Physicians give sacrificially of their time during the prime of their lives in intense years of training, grueling research to find better treatment modalities, dedicated teaching of the next generation of doctors, and compassionate caring for every patient they see, all so that patients will have the highest quality of health care in Georgia and in the entire world. Physicians from all over Georgia provide volunteer care in the state capitol medical aid station down on the 2nd floor. And if you need them, please go down there. A group of physicians from the Medical Association are here today, and I would like to thank them and recognize them and ask them to stand there in the gallery behind you. Thank you very much to Georgia's physicians, this year led by Dr. John Harvey, who was actually Doctor of the Day on the first day of our session. We wish everybody good health, and please stay well. Don't forget, wash your hands, wear sunscreen, and get regular checkups. Happy Doctor's Day.
Chair recognizes Representative Waits for a morning order. Representative Waits. Chair recognizes Representative Ernest Smith for a morning order.
Good morning. Will the members of the Augusta Legislative Delegation please come with me? I'd like all of my colleagues in the House to please recognize and acknowledge one of our very special groups that come from Augusta, Georgia, the Alleluia Community School. Would you please stand? And I'd like to take upon the privilege and say that they are from the district in which I've been charged to be a public servant. Thank you for coming to your house. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Chair recognizes for a morning order Representative Bentley, Representative Gordon, Representative Elam, Representative Dukes, Representative Mickey Stevens, Representative Prince, Representative Stovall, and Chairman Smyrie.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're so very proud. We are all standing here this morning to acknowledge the presence of all of the historically black colleges and universities, state-funded HBCUs that are visiting their state capital on today: Albany State University, Fort Valley State University, and Savannah State University. So colleagues, I ask that you would please stand and welcome all of the 3 universities that I just named that are here in the gallery this morning. Albany State, Fort Valley State University, and Savannah State are all visiting their state capital on today, and we all stand to welcome them as we represent them in our districts. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Waits for a morning order.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, colleagues, distinguished guests, and visitors. I rise this morning in support of my colleague, Representative Raffensperger, legislation House Bill 713. In 2013, I was contacted by Jane, a survivor of rape, who expressed sentiments of frustration that Georgia did not have laws that protected individuals who conceived a child in the midst of rape. So for that reason, I drafted House Bill 397 to end the torment and turmoil of individuals who had experienced these horrible things. While my bill did not receive traction, as I and dozens of survivors had hoped, I am encouraged that we have another opportunity to support Representative Raffensperger's bill, which, if passed into law, will prevent the repeated violation of women and their children by predators who commit these heinous acts. House Bill 713 is scheduled to be heard in the Juvenile Justice Committee on Thursday, and I strongly encourage each of you to join Representative Raffensperger and I in support of this important legislation that will terminate the parental rights of rapists. Thank you.
This House will come to order. We're going to recognize a very distinguished group of guests with us today. Chair will ask the clerk to read the caption to House Resolution 1061.
House Resolution 1061 by Representative Rogers of the 10th, Ralston of the 7th, Chocus the 138th, Lott of the 122nd, Coomer the 14th, and others. A resolution recognizing January 27, 2016 as Civil Air Patrol Day at the State Capitol and commending the volunteers of the Civil Air Patrol for their services to the citizens of Georgia and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes Representative Terry Rogers for an invite resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, today's a very, very special day at the Capitol. It's Civil Air Patrol Day. Civil Air Patrol, which is the official auxiliary of the United States Air Force, was founded in 1941, and this year is celebrating their 75th anniversary. There are 60,000 members nationwide, and here in Georgia, with the Georgia Wing, we have over 2,000 members. They are constantly doing things, putting themselves in the face of danger to go out and to look for people in tough situations, and it's immeasurable as to how many hours that they have contributed, and you can't put a dollar value on what they do. Their primary mission is emergency services, cadet programs, aerospace education, and now they're also working with Homeland Security. Now the good news is that you have an opportunity to be a part of this group. I'm joined today by Chairman Chocus, Colonel Richard Greenwood, who's the commander of the Georgia Wing, Lieutenant Colonel Joseph Nice, the vice commander, Lieutenant Colonel Andrea Van Buren, who's the vice commander of support, and Cadet Major Hannah McSwain and Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Cooper. They want to invite you to come by room 132 downstairs and to visit with them. But also, if you are not a member of the Civil Air Patrol, you have an opportunity to join the Legislative Squadron. So, Mr. Speaker, I think that right now I would like to ask this group to please stand as I just hand them their proclamation and to recognize this fine group of volunteers. Thank you very much.
House will continue to be in order. Chair recognizes to introduce the Doctor of the Day, Representative Oliver and Representative Mayo. Double doctors.
We're fortunate to have two volunteers today. I'm very pleased to introduce Dr. Matthew Keaty, who is Associate Professor of Emergency Medicine at Emory Clinic and Medical Director of the Emergency Department of the Emory System. Thank you, Dr. Keaton, for your service today.
Thank you guys for your service. If you need anything from us in the medical clinic, please come and see us. Hope you don't need us, but we'll be looking forward to seeing you. Thanks.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, sir.
Y'all just hang tight, Mayor Martin.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Shami Das is in his final year of residency in emergency medicine at Emory. He completed his undergraduate training and master's degree in public health at Emory, and he's earned both his MD and MBA while in medical school from the Boone Shaw Physician Leadership Development Program. Dr. Das has been an avid advocate for his patients and the profession of medicine at both the state and national level. And most importantly, Dr. Das recently had a child, 3-week-old baby at home, so we want to congratulate him and thank him for being here as Doctor of the Day.
Appreciate it.
Care to say a word?
Thank you for having us here at your service. Come please see us at the physician's office if there's any questions at all. We really appreciate the time and energy you put into the work you do here. It's very important.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Clerk will read the caption to a group of privileged resolutions.
Honoring the life and memory of Mr. Bobby Wayne Bob Lewis Sr. Commending the student leaders of the Georgia Institute of Technology and recognizing February 1st, 2016 as Georgia Tech Student Day at the Capitol. Recognizing and commending Lieutenant General Lee K. Levy II, and for other purposes. Recognizing and commending Arisha Ali upon being honored with the Girl Scout Gold Award. Commending Ms. Paris Ruzadi. Recognizing and commending the state YMCA of Georgia and its civic engagement and Y Club programs which sponsor youth assembly among the other programs that cultivate youth civic engagement. Recognizing and commending Madeline Hervey upon her being honored with the Girl Scout Gold Award. Honoring the life and memory of Mrs. Reva Mae Brown Jennings. Commending the Lynx Incorporated and recognizing February 24, 2016 as Lynx Day at the State Capitol. Congratulating the Duke High School men's varsity soccer team for the victorious performance in the 2015 State Championship. Recognizing February 8th as Math Day at the Capitol. Recognizing, commending Daniel Bird. Recognizing February 16, 2016 as Literacy Day at the State Capitol. Commending the Upsilon Alpha Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Recognizing January 29, 2016 as Upsilon Alpha Omega Day at the State Capitol. Recognizing the Georgia Association of Black Women Attorneys 35th anniversary, and January 28, 2016 is the annual Georgia Association of Black Women Attorneys Day at the State Capitol. Recognizing Mr. J. David Williams. Commending Bishop Aaron B. Lackey Sr. and recognizing October 6, 2016 as Aaron B. Lackey Senior Day. Recognizing July 14, 2016 as Older Citizens Day, and for other purposes. That completes the reading of the privileged resolutions.
Chair recognizes the chairman of the Majority Caucus, Chairman Hatchett, for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just wanted to remind the Majority Caucus that we will have a meeting in the morning in room 341 at 8 o'clock. Majority Caucus 341 at 8 o'clock in the morning. Thank you.
Was there any objection to the adoption of the privileged resolutions? Chair hears none. The resolutions are adopted. Chair recognizes Representative Ballinger for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Y'all got this on your desk. I represent the House on the State Child Fatality Review Board. We review all sudden deaths for children under the age of 18. There's going to be a panel discussion of the annual report at Post 50, which is the GSP auditorium just directly across the street at 3 p.m. today. Unfortunately, that information was left off the flyer, but we would appreciate your attendance. Thank you so much.
Chair recognizes Chairman Gerald Green for an announcement. Chairman Green.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is to the members of the Code Revision Committee. We will be meeting at 2 p.m., that is 2 p.m., in room 415 in the Coverdale Legislative Office Building. That's at 2 p.m. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Shaw for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The House Industry and Labor Full Committee will meet today at 3 o'clock in room 506, and we'll be taking up House Bill 402. Thank you. John.
Chair recognizes Chairman Barbara Sims for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Committee on
Lady will suspend just for a moment. This House will be in order. Continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Committee on State Properties will have their meeting today at 2 o'clock in room 403. Today at 2 o'clock. Thank you.
House will suspend for just a couple of minutes. Going to ask all members of this House to immediately take their seats. All members immediately find their seats.
Y'all throw me off track here.
We may have to send directions over to our colleagues across the hall on how to get here. Mr. Doorkeeper.
Mr. Speaker, the President Pro Tem, and the members of the Senate await entrance to this House chamber.
Mr. Doorkeeper, please allow the President Pro Tem, and the members of the Senate to enter the House chamber, and the messenger will please escort them to their designated seats. At this time, it is my pleasure to welcome to the People's House the members of the State Senate, and it is my distinct honor and privilege to introduce a friend of many years, a great partner, and a great leader in this state, the Lieutenant Governor of Georgia, Casey Cagle.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Pursuant to H.R. 968, I hereby call this joint session of the General Assembly to order. All members, please take your seats. The clerk will read a resolution.
House Resolution 968 by Representative Burns, the 159th. A resolution calling a joint session of the House of Representatives and the Senate for the purpose of hearing a message from the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, inviting each other justice of the Supreme Court, each judge of the Court of Appeals to be present at the joint session and for other purposes. Be it resolved by the General Assembly of Georgia that the Honorable Chief Justice of the Supreme Court is hereby invited to address a joint session of the House of Representatives and the Senate at 11 a.m. Wednesday, January 27, 2016, in the hall of the House of Representatives.
Mr. Sergeant at Arms.
Mr. President, the Honorable Hugh P. Thompson, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of the State of Georgia, judges of the Supreme Court, and distinguished guests, all await to enter this chamber.
Thank you, Mr. Sergeant at Arms. Please escort the Honorable Hugh P. Thompson, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, the Justice of the Supreme Court, and the judges of the Court of Appeals into the chamber at this time. Let me ask all the members, please take your seats. Please take your seats. It is a great honor for me to obviously be present not only here today, but to recognize some very special guests that are with us. And first and foremost is the wonderful man from a great part of our state, North Georgia. He is an individual that I have known for more than 2 decades, has served our state with great distinction. Please join me in welcoming our Speaker of the House, David Ralston. And next, from the big city of Milton, it is my honor to also recognize a wonderful lady who happens to be the Speaker Pro Tem of this great body, Ms. Jan Jones. And also from Gwinnett, a gentleman that I've served with for many years as well, and serving our great body in the Senate with wonderful distinction. Please join me in welcoming the President Pro Tem of the State Senate, David Schaefer. Would like to recognize and ask to stand in the gallery the Justices of the Supreme Court, or here, excuse me, not in the gallery, but those here. Please join me in welcoming all the Justices. And also present with us, would like to ask the Court of Appeals judges to please stand, and let's recognize you and your great service as well. Thank you very much. We have other members of the judiciary that is in the gallery. We would like for you to stand so we could recognize you as well. Thank you all very, very much. And in the gallery today, it's a great honor for me to recognize the very first lady of the State Senate, my lovely bride, Nita Cagle. It is now my distinct honor to introduce the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Georgia, the Honorable Hugh P. Thompson. Chief Justice Thompson is a native Georgian and a resident of Milledgeville. He was appointed to the Supreme Court of Georgia by then Governor Zell Miller on March 1st, 1994, and was appointed Chief Justice of the court in 2013. Prior to becoming the Justice on the Supreme Court, Justice Thompson served as a Superior Court judge on the multi-judicial circuit, having been appointed to that position in 1979 by then Governor George Busby. Judge Thompson was reelected repeatedly by the citizens of the Milwaukee Judicial Circuit and served from 1979 to 1994. And he also received his undergraduate degree from Emory University and Oglethorpe University and his law degree from the Walter F. George School of Law of Mercer University in 1969. It is my honor to present to you a dear friend, a wonderful Georgian, the Honorable Hugh P. Thompson. Thank you so much. Great.
Lieutenant Governor Cagle, Speaker Ralston, Speaker Pro Tem Jones, President Pro Tem Schaefer, my fellow judges, my fellow Georgians, and all of those here in the General Assembly. Good morning. That's a great response. You're with me so far. Thank you very much. I think it really is a good morning. And I thank you for this annual tradition of inviting the Chief Justice to report on the state of Georgia's judiciary. Thanks in large part to your support and the support of our governor. As we move into 2016, I'm pleased to tell you that your judicial branch of government is not only steady and secure, it is dynamic, it has momentum, and it's moving forward in the 21st century with a vitality and a commitment to meeting the inevitable changes before us. Our mission remains the same: to protect individual rights and liberties, to uphold and interpret the rule of law, and to provide a forum for the peaceful resolution of disputes that is fair, impartial, and accessible to all. Our judges are committed to these principles. Each day throughout the state, they put on their black robes, they take their seat on the courtroom bench, and they work tirelessly to ensure that all citizens who come before them get justice. Our Judicial Council is the policymaking body of the state's judicial branch. It is made up of competent, committed leaders elected by their fellow judges and representing all classes of courts. They are assisted by an administrative office of the courts, which is under a new director, Cynthia Clanton, and has a renewed focus as an agency that serves judges and courts throughout Georgia. Now, as you've already seen, a number of our judges have made the trip to be here today. Would all of you who are judges, including my colleagues on the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeals, please stand and again be recognized. Our judges are here today because the relationship we have with you is important. We share with you the same goal of serving the citizens of this great state. We could not do our work without your help and that of our governor. On behalf of all the judges, let me say that we are extremely grateful to you members of the General Assembly for your judicial compensation appropriation last year. Thank you. Thank you very much. Today, I want to talk to you about Georgia's 21st century courts, our vision for the future, the road we must travel to get there, and the accomplishments we have already achieved. It has been said that change is the law of life, and those who look only to the past or the present are certain to miss the future. Since the new state constitution took effect in 1983, our population has nearly doubled to a little over 10 million, making us the 8th most populous state in the country. We are among the fastest growing states in the nation, and in less than 4 years, our population is projected to exceed 12 million. Because it's good for our economy, we welcome that growth. Today, Georgia ranks among states with the highest number of Fortune 500 companies, 20 of which have their global headquarters here. We have 72 four-year colleges and universities. We have the world's busiest airport, and we have 2 deep-water ports. Georgia is a gateway to the South, and for a growing number of people and businesses from around the world, it's the gateway to this country. All of this growth produces litigation, increasingly complex litigation. And just as our state must prepare for this growth by ensuring that we have enough roads and modes of transportation, enough doctors and hospitals, and enough power to reach people throughout the state, our courts also must be equipped and modernized for the 21st century. While our population has nearly doubled since 1983, the number of Georgia judges has grown only 16%. We must work together to ensure that our judicial system has enough judges, staff, and resources in the 21st century to fulfill the mission and constitutional duties our forefathers assigned to us. A healthy, vibrant judiciary is absolutely critical to the economic development of our state. Thanks to many leaders in the judiciary, as well as to our partnership with the governor and you in the legislature, we're well on the way to building a court system for the 21st century. This time next year, with your support, we will have put into place an historic shift in the types of cases handled by the Supreme Court of Georgia, the highest court in the state, and by the Court of Appeals, our intermediate appellate court. Thanks to Governor Deal's Commission on Appellate Jurisdiction, this realignment will bring the Supreme Court of Georgia in line with other state Supreme Courts, which handle only the most critical cases that potentially change the law. Serving on the commission are two of my colleagues, Justice David Namias and Justice Keith Blackman, as well as two judges from the Court of Appeals, Chief Judge Sarah Doyle and Judge Stephen Dillard. Thank you, justices and you judges, for your leadership. Under the Georgia Constitution, Supreme Court justices collectively decide every case that comes before us. Currently, the state's highest court hears divorce and alimony cases. We hear cases involving wills. We hear cases involving title to land. And we hear disputes over boundary lines. But the Governor's Commission and a number of reports by other commissions and committees issued since 1983 have recommended that such cases should be heard by our Intermediate Appeals Court, not by our highest court. Both of our courts are among the busiest in the nation. But unlike the Supreme Court, which sits as a full court, with all 7 justices participating in and deciding every case, the Court of Appeals sits in panels of 3. With your approval last year of 3 new appeals judges, Court of Appeals judges, that court will now have 5 panels. So it will have the capacity to consider 5 times as many cases as the Supreme Court. Modernization of the Supreme Court makes sense. In a 19th century court system, when most of the wealth was tied up in land, maybe title to land cases were the most important. Maybe they had the greatest implications for the public at large. But as we move into the 21st century, that is no longer true. In answer to questions such as, who owns a strip of land, what does a will mean, and who should prevail in a divorce settlement or alimony dispute, most judicial systems believe that 3 judges are enough to provide the parties with a full and fair consideration of their appeal. It no longer makes sense to have 7 or 9 justices collectively review these types of cases. There is no doubt these cases will be in good hands with the Court of Appeals. Let me emphasize that all these cases the Commission recommended shifting to the Court of Appeals are critically important to the parties involved. Let me also emphasize that the purpose of this historic change is not to lessen the burden of the Supreme Court. Rather, the intent is to free up the state's highest court to devote more time and more energy to the most complex and most difficult cases that have the greatest implications for the law and society at large. We will, therefore, retain jurisdiction of constitutional challenges to the laws you enact, questions from the federal courts seeking authoritative rulings on Georgia law, election contests, murder and death penalty cases, and cases in which the Court of Appeals judges are equally divided. Significantly, we want to be able to accept more of what we call certiorari cases, which are appeals of decisions of the Court of Appeals. The number of petitions filed in this category during the first quarter of the new docket year is nearly 14% higher this year over last. Yet, due to the amount of appeals the law now requires us to take, we've had to reject the majority of the petitions for certiorari that we have received. These cases are often the most complex and the most consequential. They involve issues of great importance to the legal system and the state as a whole. Or they involve an area of law that has become inconsistent and needs clarification. Businesses and citizens need to know what the law allows them to do and what the law does not allow them to do. It's our job at the highest court to reduce any uncertainty and bring consistency and clarity to the law. Under the Commission's recommendations, our 21st Century Georgia Supreme Court will be able to accept more of these important appeals. Now, as we move into the 21st century, plans are being discussed to build the first state judicial building in Georgia's history that will be dedicated solely to the judiciary. We are grateful for the governor's leadership on this. The building that now houses the state's highest court and the Court of Appeals was built in 1954 when Herman Talmadge was governor. Back then, it made sense to combine the state's judicial branch with part of the executive branch by locating the law department in the same building. But the world has changed since 1954, and the building we now occupy was not designed with visitors in mind. It was not designed with technology in mind, and it surely wasn't designed with security in mind. Indeed, it was designed to interconnect with neighboring buildings that house other branches of government. A proper judicial building is about more than bricks and mortar. Outside, this building will symbolize for generations to come the place where people will go to get final resolution of civil wrongs and injustice, where the government will go to safeguard its prosecution of criminals, and where defendants will go to appeal convictions and sentences to prison for life. Inside such a building, the courtroom will reinforce the reality that what goes on in here is serious and solemn. It is a place of great purpose, in the words of a federal judge. The parties and lawyers will understand they are on equal footing because they are equal under the law. There's a majesty about the law that gets played out in the courtroom. It is a hallowed place because it is where truth must be told and where justice is born. The courtroom represents our democracy at its very best. No, this building is not just about bricks and mortar. Rather, it is a place that will house Georgia's highest court, where fairness, impartiality, and justice will reign for future generations. Now, we are no longer living in a 1950s Georgia. The courts of the 21st century must be equipped to handle an increasingly diverse population. Living today in metropolitan Atlanta alone are more than 700,000 people who were born outside the United States. According to the Chamber of Commerce, today some 70 countries have a presence in Atlanta in the form of a consulate or trade office. We must be ready to help resolve the disputes of international businesses that are increasingly locating in our state and capital. Our 21st century courts must also be open, transparent, and accessible to all. Our citizens' confidence in their judicial system depends on it. We must be armed with qualified, certified interpreters. Promote arbitration as an alternative to costly courtroom-bound litigation. Ensure that all those who cannot afford lawyers have an avenue toward justice. And be constantly updating technology with the aim of improving our court's efficiency while saving literally millions of dollars. For all of this, we need your help. Now, when I first became a judge, we had no email, no cell phones, no internet. People didn't Twitter or text or post things on YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram. Back then, the most modern equipment we had was a mimeograph machine. Does anybody remember what a mimeograph machine was? This past year, by Supreme Court order, we created for the first time a governance structure to bring our use of technology into the 21st century. Chaired by my colleague, Justice Harold Melton, and co-chaired by Douglas County Superior Court Judge David Emerson. This permanent Judicial Council Standing Committee on Technology will lead the judicial branch by providing guidance and oversight of its technology initiatives. Our courts, on their own, are rapidly moving away from paper documents into the digital age. At the Supreme Court, lawyers now must file electronically all cases. This past year, we successfully launched the next phase by working with trial courts to begin transmitting their entire court record to us electronically. The Court of Appeals also now requires the e-filing of applications to appeal, and this year will join the Supreme Court in accepting electronic trial records. I'm with you. I think we all should celebrate that. Our goal is to develop a uniform statewide electronic filing and retrieval system so that lawyers and others throughout the judiciary can file and access data the easiest way possible. Using a single portal, attorneys will be able to file documents with trial courts and appellate courts and retrieve them in any court of the state. This is a system advocated by our partner, President Bob Kaufman of the State Bar of Georgia, and by attorneys throughout the state. Such a system will not only make our courts more efficient at huge savings, but it will make Georgia safer. When our trial judges conduct bond hearings, for example, they often lack critical information about the person before them. They usually have reports about any former convictions, but they may not have information about cases pending against the defendant in other courts. The technology exists now to ensure that they do. Also on the horizon is expanded use of video conferencing, another electronic improvement that will save money and protect citizens' lives. After a conviction and sentence to prison, post-trial hearings require courts to send security teams to pick up the prisoner and bring them to court. Without encroaching on the constitutional rights of confrontation, we could video conference the inmate's testimony from his prison cell. Again, the technology already exists. Our Committee on Technology will be at the forefront of guiding our courts into the 21st century. As Georgia grows, it grows more diverse. Our Georgia courts are required by the federal government to provide language service free of charge to litigants and witnesses, not only in criminal cases, but in civil cases as well. Even for fluent English speakers, the judicial system can be confusing and unwelcoming. My vision for Georgia's judiciary in the 21st century is that every court in every city and every county in Georgia will have the capacity of serving all litigants speaking any language, regardless of the national origin, from the moment they enter the courthouse until the moment they leave. This means that on court websites, signs and forms will be available in multiple languages. that all court staff will have the tools they need to assist any customers, and that the court proceedings will have instant access to interpreters of the languages they need. Chief Magistrate Christina Bloom of the Gwinnett County Magistrate Court has been working hard to ensure access to justice for all those who come to her court, most of whom are representing themselves. Recently, her court created brochures that provide guidance for civil trials, family violence matters, warrant applications, garnishments, and landlord and tenant disputes. These brochures provide basic information about each proceeding, what to expect, and how best to present the case in court. Judge Bloom, who's in line to be president of the Council of Magistrate Judges and a member of our Judicial Council, has had the brochures translated into Spanish, Korean, and Vietnamese. Such non-legalese forms and tutorial videos that our citizens can understand go a long way toward building trust in the judicial system and in our entire government. The Supreme Court Commission on Interpreters, chaired by Justice Keith Blackwell, is making significant strides in ensuring that our courts uphold the standards of due process. With the help of Commission member Jana Edmondson Cooper, an energetic attorney with the Georgia Legal Services Program, the Commission is working around the state to educate judges, court administrators, and lawyers on the judiciary's responsibilities in providing language access. The essence of due process is the opportunity to be heard. Our justice system is the envy of other countries because it is open and fair to everyone seeking justice. By helping those who have not yet mastered English, we reinforce the message that the doors to the best justice system in the world are indeed open to everyone. Our law demands it. Our Constitution demands it. In the 21st century, the 21st century courts will symbolize really a new era. A turning point in our history occurred when we realized there was a better, smarter way to handle criminals. 6 years ago, my colleague, then Chief Justice Carol Hunstein, accompanied Representative Wendell Willard to Alabama to explore how that state was reforming its criminal justice system. Back in Georgia, Governor Deal seized the reins, brought together the three branches of government, and through extraordinary leadership has made criminal justice reform a reality. Georgia is now a model for the nation. Today, following an explosive growth in our prison population that doubled between 1990 and 2011 and caused corrections costs to top $1 billion a year, last year our prison population was the lowest it's been in 10 years. Our recidivism rate is the lowest it's been in 3 decades. And we have turned back finally, the tide of rising costs. For the last 5 years, the Georgia Council on Criminal Justice Reform, created by the governor and your legislation, has been busy transforming our criminal justice system into one that does a better job of protecting public safety while holding nonviolent offenders accountable and saving taxpayer dollars. I am extremely grateful to this council and commend the steady leadership of co-chairs Judge Michael Boggs of the Court of Appeals and Thomas Worthy of the State Bar of Georgia. Throughout this historic reform, Georgia's trial judges have been in the trenches. Our #1 goal in criminal justice reform is to better protect the safety of our citizens. Central to that goal is the development of our specialty courts, what some call accountability courts. These courts have a proven track record of reducing recidivism rates and keeping our citizens safe. Nationwide, 75% of drug court graduates remain free of arrest 2 years after completing the program. And the most conservative analysis shows that drug courts reduce crime as much as 45% more than any other sentencing option. Last year, these courts helped save Georgia more than $51 million in prison costs. $51 million. From the beginning, you in the legislature have steadfastly supported the growth of these courts, most recently appropriating more than $19 million for the current fiscal year. Georgia now has 131 of these courts, which include drug courts, DUI courts, juvenile and adult mental health courts, and veterans courts. Today, only 2 judicial circuits in the state do not yet have a specialty court, and both are in the early stages of discussing the possibility of starting one. In addition to those already involved, last year alone, we added nearly 3,500 new participants to these courts. Behind that number are individual tales of lives changed, and in some cases, lives saved. Our judges who see so much failure take pride in these success stories, and so should you. Chief Judge Richard Slaby of the Richmond County State Court speaks with great pride of Judge David Watkins in the specialty court that have grown under Judge Watkins' direction. Today, the recidivism rate among the Augusta participants is less than 10%. The judges who run these courts are committed and deserve our thanks. We are grateful to leaders like Judge Slaby, who is President-elect of the Council of State Court Judges and a member of our Judicial Council. To Judge Stephen Goss of the Daughtry Superior Court, whose mental health court has been recognized as one of the very best mental health courts in our country. To Chief Judge Brenda Weaver, President of the Council of Superior Court Judges and a member of our Judicial Council. Judge Weaver of the Appalachian Judicial Circuit serves on the Council of Accountability Court Judges of Georgia, which you created last year by statute. Its purpose is to improve the quality of our specialty courts through proven standards and practices, and is chaired by Superior Court Judge Jason Deal of Hall County. Judge Deal's dedication to the specialty courts model in his community and his guidance and encouragement to programs throughout the state are described as invaluable by those who work with him. We don't have a unified court system in Georgia, but we have judges unified in their commitment to our courts. Among our 1,450 judges, Georgia has many fine leaders. I've told you about a number of them today. In closing, I want to mention 2 more. Now, when the United States Supreme Court issued its historic decision last year on same-sex marriage, our Council of Probate Court Judges led the way toward compliance. 3 months before the ruling was issued, the judges met privately at the behest of the Council's then President, Judge Chase Daughtry of Cook County, and his successor, Judge Don Wilkes of Emmanuel County. Together, they determined that regardless of what the Supreme Court decided, they would follow the law. Both Governor Deal and Attorney General Sam Olens also publicly announced they would respect the court's decision, despite tremendous pressure to do otherwise. These men are all great leaders who spared our state the turmoil other states endured. The bottom line is this: in Georgia, we may like the law, we may not like the law, but we're going to follow the law. The day-to-day business of the Georgia courts rarely makes the news. Rather, judges, their staff, and clerks spend their days devoted to understanding the law, tediously pushing cases through to resolution, committed to ferreting out the truth and making the right decision. It's not easy, and they must often stand alone, knowing that when they sentence someone to prison, many lives hang in the balance between justice and mercy. So, I thank all of our leaders, and I thank all of our judges who are leading our courts into the 21st century. May God bless them, may God bless you, and may God bless all the people of Georgia. Thank you.
Well done. Well done. Well done. Well done. Well done. Well, thank you so much, Chief Justice. I value you as a friend. I value the fact that you pronunciate words in which I can understand at a pace by which I can follow. I have enjoyed being able to be out in the field with you as we enjoy the fair chase of upland game bird together. And you certainly have challenged us with a wonderful vision for the 21st century, and we appreciate you deeply. And it is now my honor to ask the Sergeant of Arms to come forward as he escorts the Chief Justice along with the Justices of the Supreme Court and the Judges of the Court of Appeals from the chamber at this time. Thank you so much. I now recognize the Senate President Pro Tem for a motion.
Mr. President, I move that this joint session of the Georgia General Assembly be dissolved.
The President Pro Tem has moved that this joint session be dissolved. All of those in favor will say aye. All those opposed, no. It is the opinion of the chair, after careful deliberation but clear certainty. The ayes clearly have it. We stand adjourned.
Okay, if you have a page here today, then you need to report to the rostrum immediately. If you have pages here, report to the rostrum immediately. Page photographs will be made immediately upon adjournment. There appear to be no other announcements to be made. Nobody's having a birthday in this house today. The chair recognizes the majority leader for a motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House stand adjourned until tomorrow morning, Thursday, January the 28th, 2016 at 10 a.m.
The majority leader has moved that this House be adjourned until Thursday at 10 a.m. All those in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed will say no. The ayes have it. This House will be adjourned until Thursday at 10 a.m.